A thick gray fog clings to the surface of the Pearl River Delta in 1809, swallowing the horizon whole. A merchant captain grips the damp wood of his railing, his ears straining against a heavy, unnatural silence. Suddenly, the mist shudders with the rhythmic thumping of thousands of wooden oars striking the brine in perfect, terrifying unison. As the sun begins to burn through the haze, the nightmare reveals itself. Hundreds upon hundreds of red-bannered war junks emerge like ghosts, their blackened cannons pointed directly at his chest. This massive swarm stretching for miles is the Red Flag Fleet, a shadow nation on the water. At its center, a woman stands calmly on the high deck, watching the terrified sailors realize that their lives now belong entirely to her. This is the height of the Pirate Confederation, an aquatic empire that operates with more lethal efficiency than the crumbling Qing Dynasty it plunders. Shi Xianggu, known to history as Zheng Yi Sao, commands a terrifying force of 70,000 hardened pirates and 1,800 individual vessels. To put this in perspective, her personal navy is larger than the official armed forces of most European nations during the 19th century. While Western legends speak of pirates with single ships and buried treasure, this woman manages a complex maritime corporation that regulates trade and extracts tribute from entire coastal provinces. Her word is the absolute law across the South China Sea, and even the most powerful imperial governors in Beijing tremble at the mention of her red-patched sails and iron discipline. The path to this absolute power begins in 1775 among the outcasts of Canton. Shi Xianggu is born into the tanker people, an ethnic group of boat dwellers forbidden by imperial law from ever setting foot on dry land. She grows up amidst the pervasive smell of salt air, rotting fish, and the constant creaking of wooden planks underfoot. By her teenage years, she finds herself working on the flower boats, the floating brothels that cluster in the crowded harbor like brightly painted parasites. Here, she learns the true mechanics of human greed and the vulnerabilities of the powerful men who visit her at night. She listens to their whispers of trade secrets and political rivalries, sharpening her mind for a game of survival that most people cannot even imagine. In 1801, the notorious pirate commander Zheng Yi raids her flower boat, but he does not find a helpless victim. Instead of cowering, Shi Xianggu negotiates her way into a marriage that is actually a strategic partnership of equals. She demands 50% of all his future spoils and a direct role in commanding his growing fleet before she agrees to step onto his flagship. This is not a romantic union, but the merger of two formidable minds destined to reshape the geography of the East. Together, they begin to hunt down rival pirate groups, replacing chaotic violence with a unified vision of control. They move through the subtropical heat and monsoon storms, absorbing smaller gangs until the Red Flag Fleet becomes the dominant predator in the deep, dangerous waters. By 1805, the pirate world undergoes a radical transformation under their joint leadership. They organize the scattered gangs into a professional confederation of 6 distinct fleets, each identified by its own colored banner. This is piracy reimagined as a global corporation, complete with a central council and shared insurance for injured sailors. They establish strict trade monopolies on salt and opium, ensuring that no merchant can sail without paying a heavy fee for protection. The sight of their combined armadas stretching across the blue horizon is a constant reminder that the old imperial order is dead. Shi Xianggu manages the intricate accounts and political alliances that keep this fragile coalition from fracturing, proving that a sharp mind is far more dangerous than a sharp sword in the struggle for total dominance. A sudden violent storm in 1807 changes everything when it sweeps Zheng Yi into the dark depths of the ocean forever. As news of his death ripples through the fleet, the atmosphere on the flagships turns cold and predatory. Rival captains circle like hungry sharks, waiting for the woman they call the widow to fail so they can seize her territory. However, Shi Xianggu does not hesitate for a single second. She stands on the quarterdeck of the largest war junk, her eyes scanning the faces of thousands of armed men who are ready to mutiny. She speaks with a voice that carries across the waves, reminding them that the Confederation exists because of her organization. Through sheer presence and immediate political maneuvering, she stops the rebellion before the first blade is even drawn. To solidify her tenuous grip on the crown, she makes a move that shocks the conservative Confucian society on the shore. She secures the absolute loyalty of Zhang Bao, her late husband's adopted son and the fleet's most talented young general. In a brilliant political masterstroke, she marries him, turning her potential greatest rival into her most devoted partner and defender. This union cements the chain of command, ensuring that the 70,000 pirates of the Confederation have a clear, unified leadership to follow into battle. While the rumors of their scandalous relationship spread like wildfire through the ports of Canton, Shi Xianggu ignores the gossip and focuses on the reality of power. With Zhang Bao leading the vanguard, she is now truly untouchable, ready to challenge the might of the imperial dragon itself. Order inside the fleet is maintained through a visceral and terrifyingly strict code of laws written by the pirate queen herself. Any man who takes unauthorized loot from a prize ship is immediately decapitated and thrown into the sea to feed the fish. Desertion is punished by having the offender's ears sliced off in front of the entire crew, as a warning of what follows betrayal. Perhaps most surprisingly, her laws protect female captives with an iron intensity that is virtually unheard of in the history of maritime warfare. Any pirate who rapes a female prisoner is executed on the spot, and even consensual relationships must be registered under the threat of death. This brutal discipline transforms a band of criminals into a professional military machine capable of outfighting any navy in the world. The Confederation soon expands its influence far beyond the wooden decks of their ships and deep into the land itself. Shi Xianggu establishes physical tax offices in coastal towns where merchants must go to pay for their safety before they ever set sail. If a vessel carries a pirate passport stamped with her personal seal, it is granted safe passage through the crowded waters of the Delta. If a ship refuses to pay, it is hunted down, burned to the waterline, and its crew is slaughtered with systematic precision. She effectively nationalizes the entire economy of the South China Sea, extracting more revenue from trade than the local imperial government. The pirate queen is no longer just a criminal. She is the de facto ruler of a shadow state that governs through fear and commerce. The Qing emperor in Beijing grows increasingly desperate as his customs revenue vanishes into the coffers of a former brothel worker. He dispatches a massive imperial navy of 60 war junks to the narrow passage known as the Tiger's Mouth to crush her. The air fills with the deafening roar of cannons and the acrid smell of black gunpowder as the two forces collide in the channel. However, the emperor's heavy, slow-moving ships are no match for the pirate queen's fast and agile swarm of vessels. Her pirates use bamboo pikes and fire-filled stink pots to sow chaos on the imperial decks, turning the prestigious navy into a floating inferno. Within hours, the imperial commander is forced to retreat in total humiliation, leaving his shattered fleet behind as a feast for the circling gulls. Sensing an opportunity to protect their own lucrative opium trade, the British and Portuguese colonial powers in Macau decide to intervene. They deploy their high-tech Western gunboats, thinking their heavy iron cannons will easily sweep the primitive pirate junks from the sea. They soon discover that the sheer numbers of the Confederation are a force that modern technology cannot easily overcome. Thousands of pirate boats swarm the Western ships like a cloud of angry hornets, ignoring the heavy fire to board and overwhelm the sailors. The scent of salt and failure hangs over the European harbor as the proud barbarians are forced to sail back to safety. Shi Xianggu watches from a distance, knowing that she has defeated the three most powerful forces in her world: the Emperor, the British, and the Portuguese, all at once. Success, however, breeds a deadly jealousy that begins to rot the Confederation from within as the months of 1809 drag on. Guo Dai, the commander of the Black Flag Fleet, grows resentful of the absolute power held by the pirate queen and her young husband. When the Red Flag Fleet calls for urgent backup during a tense standoff with imperial forces, Guo Dai intentionally ignores the signals. He watches from the safety of the horizon as his former allies struggle against the tide, choosing betrayal over the continued dominance of a woman he once served. This internal fracture shatters the unity that made the pirates invincible, and the once mighty confederation begins to tear itself apart in a series of bloody skirmishes. Shi Xianggu realizes that her empire of waves is finally beginning to collapse. In early 1810, Shi Xianggu makes her final and most daring gamble to save herself and her loyal followers from destruction. She leaves her weapons behind and walks directly into the office of the governor of Macau, accompanied only by a group of female attendants. The room is thick with tension as the officials stare at the small woman who has cost the empire millions in silver and thousands of lives. She does not come to plead for mercy, but to dictate the terms of her own retirement with the cool confidence of a winning gambler. She understands that the government is exhausted by the war and desperate for a return to order at any cost. With the lives of 70,000 pirates as her bargaining chip, she prepares to execute the most successful surrender in history. The final agreement is a total victory for the pirate queen, securing her future while saving her head from the executioner's blade. The imperial government grants total amnesty to 17,000 of her pirates and allows her to keep the massive fortune she accumulated through years of plunder. Her husband, Zhang Bao, is not only pardoned but is given a prestigious commission as an officer in the very imperial navy he once hunted. They are permitted to legally marry and transition into a life of respectable maritime trade under the protection of the emperor's banner. Shi Xianggu has accomplished what no other pirate in history ever managed. She defeated the state, negotiated a peace, and retired with her wealth intact. The shadow state on the water officially dissolves, leaving behind only the stories. Shi Xianggu spends her remaining years in the vibrant, crowded streets of Canton, far from the violent storms and blood-slicked decks of her past. She wears fine silk robes and oversees a successful gambling house where the sound of clicking tiles and the smell of jasmine tea replace the roar of cannons. While she is no longer commanding a fleet, she remains a formidable figure in the local underworld, likely dabbling in the lucrative smuggling trade that continues to pulse through the harbor. She outlives her second husband by 2 decades, watching the world change as the first steamships begin to appear on the horizon of the Delta. She dies peacefully in 1844 at the age of 69, a quiet end for a woman who once held the destiny of an entire sea in her hands. The macro consequences of the pirate war linger long after the last red flag is lowered, permanently weakening the foundation of the Qing Dynasty. The conflict drained the imperial treasury of millions of silver taels and exposed the terrifying incompetence of the Chinese military forces to the entire world. By forcefully incorporating the pirates into the navy, the government created a military that was loyal only to its own interests rather than the throne. This internal decay leaves the gates of the empire wide open for the British to return with their iron warships during the Opium Wars just 30 years later. The pirate queen did not intend to destroy the empire, but her reign proved that the ancient dragon was already dying from the inside. Her legacy is written in the blood and fire. The physical legacy of the pirate queen is found in the restless waters of the Pearl River Delta, where the ghosts of her oars still haunt the mist. While Western history books obsess over the brief, violent careers of men like Blackbeard or Bartholomew Roberts, their achievements are microscopic compared to hers. She did not just raid a few merchant ships, she governed tens of thousands of people and dictated the terms of trade for the largest economy on the planet. Her story is a testament to what a brilliant mind can achieve when it is born into a world of outcasts and forced to fight for every breath. The memory of the Red Flag Fleet remains a powerful reminder that the most dangerous forces in history often emerge from the very people the world tries to ignore. In the end, Shi Xianggu remains the most successful pirate to ever sail the 7 seas because she understood the true nature of power. She knew that violence was merely a tool to achieve a seat at the table, and she used it with a cold, mathematical precision that baffled her enemies. She is the only legendary outlaw to successfully navigate the transition from a life of crime to a life of quiet, wealthy retirement without ever losing her dignity. As the sun sets over the South China Sea today, the waves still carry the echo of the woman who rose from a flower boat to become the Empress of the Waves. Her name is a permanent mark left by the queen who once controlled the world's most dangerous water.